So the weather has been really nice recently in the last 2 to 3 days. It's just incredible. I did go ahead and work on that radish fertilizer. It was an ordeal, guys. I had to open the lid to begin with. Yes, at 3+ weeks, it did smell pretty rank. My family was not happy. I don't think the whole neighborhood was happy, but we're gonna go look at my tomato plants. They're happy, the ones that got the radish fertilizer. So we're going to take a look at those tomato plants. I'm also going to tell you what I'm doing now that I've got flowers and fruits on those tomato plants. Yeah, look at these Stobie. It's just beautiful this year. We will talk about these guys today because I did work on them. I did do all of the maintenance. Can we even see them? Let's see. I'll move out of the sun. All of the maintenance that we should be doing right now. Clearing off lower leaves so that water's not splashing up, getting onto the leaves. I have not done any pruning on any of these plants because they are all determinate plants, and I don't prune determinate plants. They do look a little bit elongated because the lighting in my backyard this year, despite that big tree being gone, is not that great. It's really not that great. So they're kind of stretched a little, reaching for the light. And hopefully we do still get some production off of them. There are flowers. I don't see any fruits on this back deck, but when we get out front, you'll see lots of fruiting in my full sun location. And yeah, they're looking pretty good. They did not get, I'm kind of fixated right now because I think I see a yellow jacket. So the tomatoes got tied up, supported, staked, lower leaves removed, determinants I don't prune. Now onto that radish fertilizer. That smell was enough for neighbors 5 miles away to smell. And I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad. And it did draw the flies. There was 2 yellow jackets swarming the area. It took me forever to get it drained, strained, and into my 2 buckets. The first bed to receive the radish fertilizer was my cherry tomato bed. So I did my usual cleaning up of the leaves in the lower, say 12 to 18 inches. And they weren't too bad, but they had some damage from flea beetles. Watered the bed super, super well. Accidentally broke off a sucker. And look, all you have to do, push down a hole into the soil and stick that sucker in there. It should root if you keep that soil nice and moist, fairly quickly actually. And yeah, so I gave the bed here after watering, letting it soak through that radish fertilizer. It looks gross. It did smell gross, but my plants seem very happy now, a few days later. A lot of the container tomatoes in the area got it as well. Don't forget, clean your pruners between cutting off your leaves between each plant. I did see a little bit of blight started in some of these tomatoes here on my tomato trellis area, but most of the leaves look pretty good. Just a few blighty leaves here and there. We're going to water while I'm out here today too. So this bed both got planted super, super late, like maybe 2 weeks ago. So they're going to look a lot different than the ones that have been in the ground for 4 to 6+ weeks. Also, except for my tomatoes, plant over here is really getting attacked by the slugs. Even though I'm putting down the bait like every 2 to 3 days, they have been coming in here and attacking these peppers, which are poblano and basil. They love the basil too. I guess they don't like carrots too much, which that's good for me and the tomatoes. Carrots and tomatoes are supposedly pretty awesome companions, and I like to grow them together. I do not like to thin carrots, and that is why we have this dense cover crop of carrots, which is actually protecting my tomato plants. Really not going to do a whole lot in this bed at this point because they're still so young, still growing. They need more of a growing type fertilization right now, except I have to kind of balance that out with my carrots. But everyone looks stable and healthy and happy right now. Currently they're in the shade. The sun is not shining here right at this moment. I think I have a couple clips about the day I planted some peppers. It was May the 13th. You can see the carrots are still in the bed. The tomatoes are not there yet. That was a week or 2 after that. But for the peppers, I wanted to pinch off all the little baby peppers that were starting because I want to focus on roots right now, not on pepper fruit production. They're way too tiny of plants to support the weight of actual fruits if they do develop. All right, we're back. So all I'm going to do for these guys now, probably give them a little bit of diluted all-purpose liquid fertilizer for both beds. One that doesn't smell too bad. and making sure we're watering because I don't want my carrots to get, bitter too soon. This is a great location for them. Both of these beds had to be evacuated, and then I had to put a double layer of chicken wire down in the last year to both sides. Something was tunnelling up and eating all my carrots. And right behind me here, we have more backyard tomatoes and beans and cucumbers. I can't walk too far ahead because I stepped in Tonto's coop the other night and I just left my shoes there. I need to clean up the backyard. Of course, Tonto, he's laughing about it over there under a tree. Okay, so this bed needs to get worked on, but it's not going to happen today in today's video. The deer did come into my backyard, and that's why a lot of my beans have no leaves. They ate most of the leaves off of the beans, and some of the tomatoes got topped in the backyard. These guys do need some help. We are going to do our treatment today for these 2 container tomatoes. And then we've got these tomatoes over here in this L-shaped bed. Also, my parsnips germinated. I'm so excited. See? Definitely the key is to get fresh seeds, because I have tried, a little bit older seeds before, and they don't germinate. So I'll eventually be taking the covers off. I've just been protecting them from the squirrels. Now, for these tomatoes, I also have a clip for you guys on planting tomatoes so that you can protect the roots from voles and moles. I have probably both, and it's been a big issue in this bed in particular, and I cannot dig it deep and put down the chicken wire or the wire mesh because my water line also runs somewhere in through here. So what I've come up with is this idea, which is working great. You're thinking, yeah, but your tomatoes are so tiny. It's not working that great. Well, it is working great because my tomatoes got topped by a deer, and I'm letting it branch out with suckers and grow new headers. Oh, there's one here, another nice sucker. So what I do, you can see the parsnips. Closer view there. I get these cheap Dollar Tree wire baskets. I dig a hole, so it's going to be about 7-inch deep hole. Put this down in it. Well, let me just show you, because I made a clip about that too, probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago is when I put these guys in the ground. So let's go watch. To discourage the voles and moles from eating the roots of my tomato plants in this in-ground L-shaped bed, I am going to dig a hole. I'm going to use a wire mesh container flipped upside down, and we are going to plant the container into the hole, and it's going to be basically flush or a little bit above the soil level. And then I'm going to plant my tomato just like I normally would. I'm going to use my granulated slow release fertilizer. I've got some Epsom salt for after the planting. I'm going to use some potting mix to kind of fill in the hole inside of the container. And I'm going to water this plant in really well, keep packing in that potting mix. And then I'll probably backfill with a little bit of the native soil from the digging of the hole. And there we go. There's my tomato plant. I'm going to put a ring of Epsom salt just because that's what my great grandma used to do when she planted tomatoes. So that was the process. It's a great process. I'm going to use this more often with other items like bulbs and like tulip bulbs, things that like to disappear in the ground. Now, I do need to come work on these poor tomatoes that got topped. Yeah, I really do. Thankfully, I have a few backups left that are still looking really rough. It's just hard to recover after the deer, make a buffet of your backyard. This is not going to be today's video, but I'm glad I got to show you this hack. It is helpful. You can apply it in so many different ways. And that's not too deep of a hole to dig. Now, obviously, I'm not burying my tomatoes super deep at that point, but these guys are semi-determinate, so I wasn't going to bury them that deep anyway. All 2 varieties. We got 2. I can't even think. I'll put the name on the screen. What I will say, though, about these guys, they're not at the flowering and fruit production phase. So I'm just going to focus more on a growth fertilization for them today. Now, trust me, I'm not, delaying the inevitable, but we are going to see some plants that are actually fruiting, and I have some tomatoes getting pretty big. But first, I got to water these parsnips. You don't want to let them dry out, especially when they're young and when they're, especially when they're germinating. There's a big old carpenter bee flying around me who's not happy about the water. I want to show you that flower too. He was just on it. It's the radicchio flower. And the reason I'm letting this big mess hang around and just go crazy, these are my bolted tiny radicchios that I tried to overwinter. And I just love the flowers so much that I'm just letting them because I want to see the flowers again. I might even collect the seeds, even though I don't even need the seeds. I just love the flowers because they're so pretty. So the sun hasn't hit over here yet, so it's kind of a great time to come over here and look at these plants in the raised bed area. Now these peppers are being attacked as well. Keep putting the bait down. They don't eat it. I'm going to have to try probably the beer trap. Maybe I'll do that tonight. These are all my green peppers, and they are definitely being attacked. And I don't understand it because I had a snake living in this area all winter. I kept finding its skins. I actually have a clip about that as well. When I planted, the day I planted these green peppers, I found a couple pieces of the snake skin. Actually, I did find snake skin twice. So I found it once planting, and then maybe once later I was working somewhere else in this area, and I found another piece. It was a second head, like, so it's grown at least twice, or there were two different snakes in here shedding skin. Now, here are the cherry tomato guys. This cherry tomato bed, there's 4 different cherry tomatoes. And I'll just put the names on the screen, or I can try to remember. Black gumdrop, rosella, champagne bubble, and nectar. They're doing fairly well. They did share this bed with radishes until maybe 3 weeks ago, when I harvested all the radishes and I used the leaves chopped up and water, just plain old water, to make that very potent radish fertilizer that I keep talking about. And these guys got that recycled radish material fertilizer about 3 days ago. They do look very happy. I tied them up the day I gave them the fertilizer, and I can tell they have grown. They have definitely grown since I've tied them up. So they're doing great. Guess they were happy with that. I did give it to the green peppers as well. But I was mostly focusing on tomatoes with that fertilizer. But I felt sorry for these guys because of all the slug damage. What I meant about the snakes is that some snakes eat slugs, and I do have a lot of the decay brown snakes, and they love slugs. But somebody's not hanging around and eating my slugs. So not sure why. If I don't have a lot of the decay brown in this area anymore, probably the black snakes don't even like to eat slugs because they're big. They're probably going off after chipmunks and rodents. Yeah, so a lot of slug damage. Almost to the point, like this one, that's going to be hard to recover from. Very disappointing. Okay, let's move on down. And I do have cucumbers growing along the fence here. Had a few beans too. They have been attacked as well. So I'm not sure if they will keep on growing. All right, so this guy here, he also got the radish fertilizer. And then everyone on that, no, I didn't give those any. I'm gonna have to go into the raised bed area. Yeah, let me hop over there. All right, so this guy, Red Pride, he did get the radish fertilizer. Lots of flowers. There are some fruits somewhere along the way in here. Ooh, okay, it's okay, just a dragonfly. Now I know I saw some fruits in here. They're hiding. Okay, well, anyways, he is in need of liquid bloom formula, and we're going to dissolve some gypsum granulated little balls into that liquid as well. I'll show it to you here in a minute. All right, so he got the radish fertilizer. This beef master is getting really big, man. He is getting big. I've not removed any suckers because the deer can stick their head right through there, and they were over on that side a couple mornings ago. Yeah, he's looking great. Okay, and then all of the tomatoes on this side of the trellis and this side of the trellis did not get the radish fertilizer because they're basically in ground in this raised bed area, so they have access to things down in the soil, in the ground, versus this guy in a container. He has limited resources. And I didn't know, I only had 2 buckets of the radish fertilizer, so I had to be very stingy with who I gave it to. Now, these guys need to get watered today, so that's something important to be doing right now. Consistent watering. Consistent in that you are consistent. I like to let my tomatoes dry out a little bit, so I'm going to stick my hand down in here. It still feels really moist. You can see. So I may not even have to water today. Yeah. So about 2 to 3 inches down, it still felt moist to me with my finger. So when it feels dry, you go 2 to 3 inches down, you need to water. Lots of flowers coming on production like that. So definitely they're at the bloom phase as well, where they need a different formulation. Look at how beautiful this guy is. That is Purple Boy. Here are those cherry tomatoes again. Different view. So you can see where I was chopping the leaves there to decompose into a walkway. Got my marigolds going. All right, this is what I wanted to show you. So that's a jalapeno that I saved. He was so puny when I saved him. Yeah, okay. Yep, all right. Well, there's a tomato in this container. He did get the radish formula. He looks healthy, he looks happy, except look at who was putting their head through here. Even though I sprayed this with deer spray the other night. Yep, we lost some of the plant, and that is why I do not prune heavily. That is why right there. The deer will prune for me. Very sad. And there are some fruits. That is Purple Boy. Yep. So we want to be consistent watering. We do not want to get rot bottom going, and that is very common in your first fruits of the season. Especially container plants. They are very much at high risk for rot bottom. Blossom end rot, whatever you want to call it. Right, Tonto? So we will be keeping an eye on that and keeping things consistent with our watering. Guess I could check over here. Make sure it's still moist down in here. It is. It is slightly less moist, but it is moist, but it's not as moist as the other side of the trellis. So that's interesting. These guys are looking really good. I just got to keep the deer away. I really do. I got to keep the deer away. And I don't know if I told y'all, but did I? The humidity is like something we never have here. It's 30%. It is like a miracle. It is like being on vacation. It is like spring and summer. And I know it's technically still spring, but it feels like spring when normally this time of year it's going to feel really oppressive and humid and icky. It's just incredible. It is really incredible. I can be out here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it feels like a dream, like vacation. All right, so all these guys in this area got the radish fertilizer. Well, one sad thing, I had to go ahead and remove my peas. They were getting bitter. So there were peas in this bed. There were peas with this guy here in the back. And yeah, so everyone in this area got the radish fertilizer. You can see my onions that we winter sown are starting to bulb up, which is good. I wish I had had more, but there was some kind of catastrophe that happened. Oh yeah, it was the squirrels. It was all the squirrels' fault. They got into my onions one night when they were outside and they destroyed the whole container. Or was it a raccoon? I'm not sure. But let's have a look at these tomatoes. Looks like I left some fertilizer out here. That is what I use for a grow formula. This is not a bloom formula. But sometimes I just use it regardless. Just to use it if I can't find what I need. All right. Those tomatoes are looking pretty good. And this is the one I wanted to talk to you about. So we were talking about rot bottom, blossom end rot in container plants. It's more prone. Because you can see his soil is a limited capsule. It is a limited space. It doesn't have access to the soil in the ground, in the earth. So everything he gets comes from me, and very dependent on the owner, the grower. And there is one fruit I noticed last night. He wants to develop rot bottom. And that is a sad thing. That is so sad for this one fruit. Now the fruits down in here that are older, so far all their bottoms look good. This guy's bottom looks good. I may just pick this one off because I've got so many. I've got so many flowers and fruits started. At this stage, I have let them go at this stage, and sometimes they recover. You just might have an ugly bottom on your fruit. If it was more than that, I definitely would pull it off. Now, the reason this could be happening, other than it's in a container, which makes it more high risk, is that Even though I've watered this every day, we haven't had rain in a long time now. It's drying out every day. See? Drying out every day. The soil is so important to the fruit. So because I'm unable to keep that soil level as far as the moisture consistent, there's this thing that happens with the plant as far as calcium uptake. And since I can't be consistent with this guy in this container, I'm going to add some calcium into the soil with the gypsum. And also throughout the season, I will occasionally mix up a little milk, a gallon of water, some molasses, and I put in a few 3 or 4 Tums, and I use that as well. I've been doing that for 6+ years, and it works pretty well. Sometimes, despite all of your efforts, nothing works. But I want to protect these fruits, so we're going to do that today. We're going to mix up a big old gallon, put in that gypsum, and hopefully that will help. There's a better view of this area. And we didn't talk about this tomato plant, which this is another issue. This is another watering issue with a container tomato. So I'm going to get closer so you can look at the leaves. So when I was out here the other night, unfortunately, I went ahead and picked most of the leaves off. I should have saved them for you guys to see. There was a clog in this container, and there was water standing. And the container, even now, you can see it looks moist compared to the one beside it. So it was not able to drain properly. And I would say most of the leaves down in through here were all solid yellow. Kind of like that. That one looks a little worse with the spots. These were more solid yellow leaves, and that can be a sign of too much water. So I think I got the clog fixed. It's at least draining at this point. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to flip this whole container over and try to stick something up the holes to unclog it even more. But I want this to work out because I really love this variety. It's called Summer Sunrise. It's a delicious, delicious tomato. And it looks like I've got some squash looking wilty over here. That might be something for me to look into, but not now. We're going to focus on tomatoes. This guy is just like a rock star. I haven't had one of the fruits yet to eat, to try, but I can see some are starting to grow. This is called Pole Big. He's a dwarf, and he's real stocky and short and sturdy. I mean, he's barely tied up at all. I think I've only got one arm of each plant tied up, and he's just so robust. So far, I like it a lot. Look. I hope I get to eat some before I go to Kentucky soon, a few weeks. I really want to have a tomato before I go. I'd love to have some tomatoes to take to my grandma. That would be so awesome. And look at that snapdragon. I've already pruned it down once, and it's coming back again. That is a gorgeous. Love that plant. Okay, so I have a few more tomatoes. I just got to remember where I put them all. Things are really popping and getting overgrown quickly. I'm going to try to get up in here, but sometimes the bees won't let me because they love the milkweed in here. This is going to have to be a future project because it's getting out of control really quick. I've got tomatoes in through here. Ruby Dawn doesn't need our special formula today. Rosella's in the ground. It doesn't. But this black gumdrop, it is in a container. Even though it's growing on the ground, it's technically in this container with the empty deer repellent bottle. Yeah, this grass has grown so big. I need to get it cut back way back. So my tomatoes are getting all the sun they need, but not too much sun. I will say the milkweed is helping me out with the deer in this area because there's no protection. It's wide open. Wide open for the deer. Yeah. And there's some peppers here and there. I'm not going to fertilize them today, though. Not today. Tomatoes back in through there. Peppers all in these containers. They're fine. They're small fruits. They're jalapenos for the most part, except for the first one was poblano. Now this tomato, I may go ahead and give him a little bit of our treatment today. He's starting to flower. And then all of these got planted super late. Whoa, super late. Super, super, super late. Like these were the rejects. I had to find somewhere to put them. And also these two here, put in the ground. So they should be pretty good since they're in the ground. I think all three of these right here are called What are they? Oh, Abe Lincoln. Nobody wanted Abe Lincoln this year for some reason, so I had a lot of them left over, so I cleaned up this whole bed and I found a place to put them. And they're tiny because they just got planted like a week and a half ago, maybe a week ago. Now these guys were planted quite a bit longer, but they were also some that didn't sell or nobody wanted, so I had to find somewhere to put them in my garden. And then we've got a few up in through here. That's a wasp. Okay. Peppers. I got a lot of peppers in through here. Look at how pretty that is. And one tomato. That is Golden King of Siberia. He has one of those flowy kind of wispy foliages going on, so I thought he would look really pretty here. And look at this, guys. This is just stunning. Every time I walk through here. These are my white Japanese irises. Oh my gosh. They are just killing me. They are so pretty. This is so pretty. I just love them so much. Especially with the rose. It's not really blooming now, but man, I love it. Here's a tomato hiding. Doesn't that look so pretty to have a tomato hiding in with your rose and your Japanese irises? That's what I call HOA gardening 101. And then another tomato hiding and peeking out there. I really did need to cut that rose back so that my tomato plants could have a little more sun. I may still do that soon. I was waiting on the Japanese beetles though, because they love to tear that rose apart. All right, let's have one more look. I just love it so much. So pretty. That was a gift from one of my daughters one Mother's Day. One container, and they've kind of been spreading, which I love. And this guy's about done, which is so sad. This was gorgeous too. It's at the end, so it's not as pretty. This is Marmalade Lily. So pretty. So pretty. And I forgot to show you that dahlia. So we're back over to this tomato container. I forgot to tell you the name. Polbig. Polbig. I hope it's going to be tasty, because if it is, it's definitely going in my rotation. But right over here to the right of it is this just stunning dahlia that's popping. I love it. I love it so much. It's so pretty. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to go in the house. I'm going to get all those ingredients. We're going to mix up a gallon. In the meantime, I'm going to get my water hose going so that everyone is watered before we give them that formula, because we don't want to have to water after and wash all of the fertilizer away. And look at this. I found this container. It's 12 marigolds, $2 on clearance at Walmart. I'm going to pop one into each container also of tomatoes. Back here behind the rose again, watering these tomatoes. One on each side of the rose. Look at how those leaves are looking kind of rough, kind of yellow, kind of neon. This area stays pretty well damp because it just does for some reason. That's why my Japanese irises are doing so great here. So I may have to think something for this. I'm not going to give this one the bloom formula. I'm gonna cut back the rose. This is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to give him some nitrogen. See if we can pop him out of this yellow phase. Now this guy is looking fine over here, but he gets more sun, and I think he's growing better overall. But this guy, not so much. And then we've got one Tasmanian chocolate over there. I see he's got a tomato growing. So I will probably water that container well too, and then we'll put down the bloom formula with the gypsum. And speaking of the gypsum, it's right here in my outdoor fertilizer container. I have to be careful for spiders though. So this is what I use. That's it. We're going to give this to our tomatoes, but you can give it to other things that need to get a little boost during the blooming phase that utilizes calcium. This is what I have, guys. It was a gallon of milk that somebody finished. I didn't rinse it. I just filled it up, and I'm going to put in some grow formula, which I should have some over here somewhere on the floor. And not grow. No, we don't want grow. We want bloom. So we'll probably do bloom. And I had a tomato bloom somewhere. I got one on clearance last year, but that's okay. We'll use this one. So we're just going to have bloom, our watered down milk container, and we're going to put that gypsum in that I just showed you a few minutes ago. I like to add molasses. This is expired and old from my pantry. It's high in potassium. Can you see that? You got to get the black strap molasses. And just use an old one. Like, you know, I buy one probably every year. And when I get a new one for the year or every other year, I donate my old one to the garden. So just 3 simple ingredients is what we're going to put in. Now, if I wasn't doing the gypsum, put in Tums, and these are pretty well expired, but they should still work. I'll probably do this later in the season because I'm about out of that bag of the gypsum. Yeah, so that's all we're going to do. I'm going to mix this up, let it dissolve, shake it real well, and then I'll meet you back outside. Day, beautiful sunny day. Still, the humidity is not that bad. It is hot though, and we're going to get progressively hotter over the next several days, and no rain in the 10-day forecast. So I'm watering now. I've got our mixture ready to go. I've been shaking it every now and then. It is looking great. Everything's dissolved at this point. I had to wait overnight to get that molasses and the little granulars of the gypsum to dissolve, but we're ready. Let's go feed our plant. All right, everything is mixed really well. The guy has been watered for the day. So I'm just gonna do this. 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's all I do. And now I'll move on to the next guy over here. And so forth. Sure glad that you were here with me for this super duper long video. A lot of issues were covered. A lot of tomato problem based issues. Yeah, there's a lot of issues going on in my garden, right? But I think we've got a handle on things. For the most part, they all look fairly well, and I'm so excited to eat some tomatoes. So what are you dealing with your tomatoes? What problems are you dealing with now or in the past that's kind of given you a little bit of trouble? I'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye.